Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to remind you each and every day, it expands our base. Joe Biden delivered an eloquent valedictory last night from the Oval Office. He made clear that he is proud of his administration, and he made clear that he endorses Kamala Harris to be the next president of the United States. Joe Biden did the honorable thing, and you can hear from the response overwhelmingly people saying what a great sacrifice he has made for his party and his country. Oh, I didn't want you to leave with the impression that everybody thinks that. As you may know, the Republicans, particularly in the House of Representatives, are talking about hearings to see whether or not Joe Biden is compos mentis, whether he is able to continue to carry on his duties. They even went so far as to say if he's withdrawing as a candidate for president, well, he ought to withdraw from the presidency. He ought to resign. They're actually going to hold hearings about it. One wonders what the Republicans are thinking. This is a time when the Republicans should say a worthy political opponent is stepping out. We want to step in and make changes in the country. But they seem to be taking a slightly different tact. And of course, we have the example of members of the House of Representatives and Republican leaders blasting Kamala Harris over the fact that DEI seems to be their calling card. Now, I've had a number of people call me and ask me, what is DEI? Diversity, equity, inclusion. There's nothing wrong with those terms. And I think one of the most interesting thing is the attempt to discredit, to demean Kamala Harris, as if she, had she not been elected to public office, because of those DEI, she would have been a nothing. I mean, that's basically what they're saying. Let me remind you that Kamala Harris began as District Attorney of San Francisco, then Attorney General of California, then a United States Senator representing California, then Vice President of the United States. You would think after more than 2 decades of active public life, she would be accepted for what she is, an extremely qualified individual. No, instead, some Republicans are blasting her. She doesn't have children. Did you hear that one? Unbelievable. And cats. I mean, it is astounding the depths to which some Republicans have fallen in terms of attacking Kamala Harris. I wanted to raise this morning because my hope is that the campaign for the presidency of the United States will be an elevated campaign, not a mudslinging campaign. And so far, the way the campaign is taking off from the Republican perspective, they simply want to demean and discredit Joe Biden. They want to demean and discredit Kamala Harris. Now, I don't say this in a partisan way. I'm saying this is a factual way. It is the way in which the Republicans are framing the campaign. And I think it's a huge mistake. Now, the big news that we have on the campaign trail is that sometime in the next 2 weeks, the Democrats have announced they will name the vice presidential running mate. Right now, Mark Kelly from Arizona and Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania appear to be in the lead. That is to say, they are really being seriously considered. Mark Kelly makes for an interesting case because he was an astronaut, a fighter pilot, and, of course, is married to Gabby Giffords, who represents recovery and strength following that assassination attempt. Josh Shapiro offers the electoral votes of the great state of Pennsylvania, coupled with the fact that he's been a very effective governor. In any case, let me remind you, and I want to emphasize this, that the selection of a vice presidential candidate is very much an individual decision made by the candidate for president. The candidate for president solely decides who the nominee will be. And it's really based on personal chemistry more than anything else. You cannot have a vice president who doesn't get along with the president. Pure and simple. But we will have a ticket sometime in the next 2 weeks. And the Democrats will then go through the process before their convention of choosing their nominee formally. Yeah, they set that up because the rule in Ohio had been that you had to have your candidates in place in order to get on the ballot for November by August. And so this is going to be a fascinating moment in American politics. There is another major event which took place in Washington yesterday, and that was the speech by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. It was a brilliant speech. I don't care if you agree or disagree with Prime Minister Netanyahu's policies. It was a powerful, compelling address. And it's interesting. The Democrats are being criticized roundly because Kamala Harris was not there. Hey, wait, did you notice? J.D. Vance wasn't there. And let me also point out that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden will meet with the Prime Minister of Israel today. They're going to meet separately, and it's an important moment. And in addition, Benjamin Netanyahu doing exactly the right thing because Israel should be completely neutral in presidential elections. He's also going to meet with Donald Trump. That makes sense to me because, well, the Middle East is a major focus of every and any presidential campaign. So we are going to watch carefully over the next few days and see how this all evolves. One can say that the presidential campaign always has innumerable twists and turns. That's what makes it so much fun. That's what makes it so dramatic. And let me just close on this point. Diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI, you're going to hear a lot about that in the days ahead. Let me only suggest to you that what makes America great is its diversity, its equity, and its inclusion. That's what the American dream is all about. I can't imagine that the Republican Party is planning to run against the American dream. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which, of course, is our goal. Let me remind you that you can interact with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and, of course, my deep appreciation to Gogo Zoger, the producer of this podcast. That's it for today. I am John Rothman, and you are listening to Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you tomorrow. Around the Political World with John Rothman is proud to introduce our first sponsor. That's right. We have someone who loves what we do, and I have to tell you, I love what she does. Be Bold America is produced by KSQD, and of course, the person who leads us through these great discussions is none other than Jill Cody. She's an author, a radio personality, and she does one heck of a job of putting into focus major issues, from protecting democracy to our climate. Let me tell you, the topics on the podcast are serious. It's not for the faint of heart, but that's to say the show is for all of us. Be bold in America. In an election year, what can we do to increase discussion, debate, and the rest? I'll tell you what we can do. Listen to Jill Cody as she exposes all of us to the issues. You can tune in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you like to get your shows. So this is John Rothman, delighted, pleased, thrilled to endorse Jill Cody's wonderful program, Be Bold, America.